If you can't do nothing, why you keep talking shit?
Talking about Neveah.
You know, like, why you keep starting shit? If you can't fight right now, because you know you pregnant. Like, you want to send your friend to go do your shit? Like, come on, let's...
Chrisean Rock really thought her second fight era was about to be gloves, training clips, redemption music, and everybody clapping like she just entered her Rocky montage. But the internet said, absolutely not, ma'am. We still have questions. Because while Chrisean is out here building a boxing storyline like she's one punch away from becoming Marvel's newest chaotic superhero, fans are side-eyeing the bigger mess. Baby Jr still being brought up in conversations about specialists, care, and who is actually prioritizing what when the cameras stop rolling and just when the fight hype started warming up. Here comes the Neveah and B drama sliding into the timeline like a Zeus producer kicked the door open with a clipboard and bad intentions. Now the whole situation feels less like a boxing comeback and more like a reality TV courtroom where everybody is yelling, nobody brought evidence in order. And the comment section has already appointed itself judge, jury, and unpaid therapist. But the wildest part is not the fight, not the shade, and not even the beef. It's what people think Chrisean is avoiding while the spotlight gets louder. Chrisean Rock's second fight era was supposed to be clean, simple, and marketable, which already sounds hilarious because nothing around Chrisean ever stays clean for more than 12 seconds. The setup looked easy on paper. She trains, she talks tough, she posts a few clips, the fans argue about whether she is focused. And the internet gets ready for another round of chaotic entertainment. But then the conversation started shifting. Because people were not just watching her fists anymore. They were watching the entire circus around her life, and suddenly the fight became the least dramatic thing on the menu. The scandal really started cooking when viewers began connecting Chrisean's fight preparation to the ongoing concerns around Baby Jr., especially the repeated questions about specialists, appointments, and whether the right help was being prioritized fast enough. Instead of everyone focusing on whether Chrisean could win round 2, the comment section turned into a full-blown parenting debate with boxing gloves sitting awkwardly in the corner. People were asking how someone could be mentally locked into a fight while the public still felt confused about what was happening with Jr. And once that question hit the timeline, the mood changed instantly. Now, to be fair, Chrisean's fans were not all dragging her because some were defending her like they had been hired by her imaginary crisis management team. They argued that a mother can still work, train, chase money, and handle responsibilities without strangers acting like they live inside her house. But the critics were not backing down either because they saw the fight promotion and felt like the optics were messy to them. Every training clip looked less like discipline and more like a distraction. And once people start calling something a distraction online, congratulations, the internet courtroom is officially open. That is where the drama got that Netflix episode 1 energy, because suddenly the story had layers nobody could ignore. You had Chrisean trying to step into a new fighter image, fans demanding updates about Jr., critics accusing the whole situation of being performative, and supporters screaming that people were being unfair. The timeline was split like a reality show reunion seating chart, with one side yelling let her work and the other side yelling answer the questions first. It was messy, loud, emotional, and painfully predictable. Basically, the exact recipe social media uses when it wants to turn one headline into a 7-day war. Then Neveah's name started floating around the chaos. And that is when the situation took another sharp left turn, because instead of Chrisean's fight era standing alone, the conversation started dragging in Neveah, B, and all the extra tension circling that side of the drama. Suddenly, it was not just about Chrisean's training or Jr's care, it became about who was beefing, who was shading, who was reacting, and who was secretly enjoying the attention. The fight storyline got hijacked by side drama so fast it felt like Zeus backstage security had lost control of the entire building. Neveah and B's issues added fuel because the internet loves nothing more than to separate dramas. Accidentally crashing into each other like reckless drivers on the same messy highway. People started connecting dots that might not even belong in the same notebook, but that never stops the comment section from building a conspiracy board with red string and bad Wi-Fi. Some fans treated Neveah like she was simply defending herself, while others felt like every post, reaction, or little comment was another spark near gasoline. And B's name entering the mix made everything feel even more personal because now the drama had family-style tension. What made the build-up even crazier was how quickly the public stopped treating Chrisean's fight like a sports moment and started treating it like evidence in a larger emotional case. Every move was being analyzed like a Kardashian scandal wrapped inside a WWE promo, with people pausing clips, reading captions, and acting like emojis were sworn testimony. If Chrisean looked focused, critics said she was ignoring bigger issues. If she looked emotional, fans said she was under pressure. If she stayed quiet, people called it suspicious. If she spoke up, people called it damage control. There was literally no safe lane, and that is the trap Chrisean walked into. Whether she meant to or not, the second fight was supposed to show growth, discipline, and maybe even a new chapter where she could control her own narrative. But the junior conversation made people question the foundation underneath that new image, and the Neveah and B tension made the whole thing feel even more unstable. It was like trying to build a luxury house on top of a group chat argument. The structure might look cute from far away, but one messy screenshot and the whole thing starts shaking. The first reactions were brutal because the internet did what it always does. It picked sides before the full story even had time to breathe. Some people said Chrisean deserved support because she is clearly trying to create opportunities and stay active, especially with so many eyes constantly waiting for her to slip. Others said they were tired of every serious issue being buried under entertainment, fights, lives, shade, and viral clips. That contrast made the story explode because it was not just gossip anymore. It became a bigger question about motherhood, fame, responsibility, and what happens when personal chaos becomes public content. Meanwhile, Chrisean's image was getting pulled into opposite directions. On one side, she had the fighter comeback narrative, where she could look strong, focused, fearless, and ready to prove people wrong. On the other side, the junior discussion kept reminding fans that strength is not just about swinging punches under bright lights. It is also about handling the quiet responsibilities that do not come with applause, cameras, or viral edits. That is why the fight era started feeling overshadowed. People were not saying the fight did not matter, they were saying the bigger story was standing right behind it, staring everybody down. The messy buildup kept growing because nobody involved seemed able to escape the public's obsession with turning emotional situations into entertainment. Neveah's side drama brought its own noise. B's involvement gave people another name to argue over, and Chrisean's fight promotion became the backdrop for everything else. Every reaction felt loaded, every silence felt strategic, and every little update became another clue for fans desperate to decode the next explosion. It was less like a normal celebrity storyline and more like a reality TV storm where the cameras never shut off, even when everyone probably needs a break from the chaos. By the time the conversation fully caught fire, Chrisean's second fight was no longer just about whether she could win against an opponent. It was about whether she could win against the narrative chasing her outside the ring. Because boxing gives you rules, rounds, gloves, and a referee. But the internet gives you none of that. Online, the punches come from strangers, old clips, family drama, parenting questions, rival reactions, and fans who think they know the whole truth from a 30-second post. And the scariest part was simple. The real fight had not even started. Yet, by the time the drama hit full speed, Chrisean's second fight era had turned into a full celebrity collision scene, and nobody on the timeline was wearing a seatbelt. What should have been gloves, footwork, and training discipline suddenly became a messy public debate about priorities, parenting, clout, and emotional damage. The internet was watching her like a referee with a ring light, waiting to see if she would address Junior directly or keep selling the fighter comeback. And once people started saying the fight was becoming a cover story for deeper chaos, the whole conversation went nuclear. Fans started splitting into camps so fast it looked like a Kardashian family meeting after somebody leaked the group chat. One side was screaming that Chrisean deserves to work, heal, train, and rebuild without strangers acting like unpaid social workers in her comments. The other side was not trying to hear any of that because they felt baby jurors specialist conversation should be louder than any boxing announcement. That clash made everything 10 times messier because now every supporter looked defensive, every critic looked harsh, and every neutral viewer looked exhausted before the main drama even finished loading. Then the memes started doing what memes always do, taking a serious situation, throwing a clown wig on it, and sending it into the algorithm like a digital grenade. People were comparing Chrisean's fight rollout to WWE Monday Night Raw, except instead of one opponent in the ring, she had fans, family drama, medical concerns, Neveah tension, shade, and public judgment all swinging from different corners. The jokes were brutal, the edits were dramatic, and the comment sections were acting like SportsCenter had merged with Zeus Network. At that point, the fight was no longer promotion. It was a public spectacle, and Neveah's name being dragged into the wider storm made the mess feel even more personal because now the drama had that uncomfortable family-adjacent flavor social media loves to chew on. People were watching Neveah and be like they were side characters suddenly promoted to main cast halfway through the season. Some fans believed Neveah was simply caught in the crossfire, while others swore every post and reaction had hidden meaning. V's involvement made the speculation even louder because the internet loves a messy triangle, especially when nobody clearly explains where the lines are drawn. What made everything spiral harder was the contradiction between Chrisean's fighter image and the emotional questions surrounding her life. She was trying to look locked in, powerful, and unbothered, but the public kept dragging the conversation back to motherhood and responsibility. It created this strange Marvel-style split screen where one version of Chrisean was training like she had a superhero comeback arc, while another version was being questioned like the villain in a public accountability trial. That contrast gave fans endless material because people could not decide whether they were watching discipline, distraction, damage control, or all three wearing boxing gloves. Celebrity reactions did not even need to be direct to make the chaos louder, because in today's internet, a vague post can start a 5-car pileup by lunchtime. One little caption, one shady repost, one laugh emoji. And suddenly fans are building courtroom exhibits like they graduated from TikTok law school. People were tagging everybody, comparing old clips, dragging up past arguments, and acting like every silence was a confession. The whole situation had that reality TV meltdown energy where nobody says the full truth, but everybody performs around it loudly enough to keep the audience guessing. The fan outrage got even nastier because Junior became the emotional center of the conversation, and that is where jokes started turning into real concern. People were not only being messy for entertainment. Some genuinely felt uncomfortable watching a fight era get celebrated while questions about a child's care were still hanging in the air. Supporters pushed back hard, saying strangers do not know what appointments are happening privately, what doctors have said, or what Chrisean is handling behind closed doors. But critics kept firing back that public promotion invites public questions, especially when the same family drama keeps spilling online. Then came the wild analogies, and the internet absolutely lost its mind with them. Some people said the situation looked like a Zeus backstage fight where the real argument is never the one being filmed. Others compared it to the Kardashians, where one headline is always conveniently standing in front of a bigger scandal with Better lighting. A few fans said it felt like WWE because everyone had an entrance, a slogan, a rival, and a crowd ready to boo before the bell even rang. The comedy was savage, but underneath it was a real sense that this story was becoming harder to control. Chrisean's biggest problem was that the fight could not exist in a vacuum, because her personal brand has always been tangled with public emotion. People do not watch her like a normal celebrity. They watch her like a live reality show where every chapter affects the next. So when she tries to pivot into boxing, the audience does not simply say, "Good luck in the ring." They bring the baby discourse, the relationship scars, the family tension, the old scandals, and every unresolved question right along with them. That is why the comeback energy kept getting swallowed by the chaos surrounding it. Meanwhile, Neveah and B's situation kept adding static to the signal, making the whole timeline feel like 5 arguments happening inside one burning group chat. Every reaction from that side gave fans another reason to pause the fight conversation and chase a new thread. Some people accused everyone involved of feeding the drama for attention, while others argued that the public was twisting normal tension into entertainment because messy content performs better. Either way, the result was the same. Chrisean's second fight kept getting pushed into the background while the side drama marched right into the spotlight with glitter and gasoline. And that is where the escalation became dangerous for Chrisean's image, because once the internet decides a storyline is about priorities, every move becomes a test. Training becomes a question, silence becomes strategy, posting becomes proof, laughing becomes disrespect, crying becomes manipulation, even doing nothing becomes suspicious. Because people online can turn a blank screen into breaking news if they are bored enough. The fight era was supposed to make Chrisean look focused, but instead, it gave critics a stage to ask whether focus was being placed in the right direction. By the end of the escalation, the drama had grown louder than the fight itself, and that is the nightmare for any celebrity trying to rebrand. Chrisean wanted a second-round storyline, but the public handed her a full-season investigation with memes, outrage, parenting debates, and side characters refusing to stay quiet. The more she leaned into fighter mode, the more people demanded clarity around Junior, Neveah, B, and the emotional mess surrounding all of them. And right when it looked like the timeline had already reached maximum chaos, the next wave started forming behind the scenes, and this one looked even harder to dodge. By the time the aftermath settled in, Chrisean's second fight era no longer looked like a comeback rollout. It looked like damage control wearing boxing gloves. The ring was still there, the training clips were still moving, and the tough talk was still floating around the internet. But the energy had shifted completely. Fans were not just asking who she was fighting anymore. They were asking what she was fighting for, what she was avoiding, and why Baby Drew's situation kept feeling louder than the actual event. That is when the mood turned from messy entertainment into something way more uncomfortable. The emotional fallout hit because Junior became the part of the story nobody could joke around completely, even while the timeline kept trying to turn everything into memes. People could laugh at the WWE level drama, the Zeus-style chaos, and the endless back and forth between fan camps. But the moment JR's name came up, the tone changed. Some viewers felt protective, some felt frustrated, and some felt like the adults around the situation were letting public noise swallow a private responsibility. That is why the criticism stuck so hard, because it was not just shade. It sounded like disappointment dressed as outrage. Chrisean's reputation started bending under the pressure because the public was no longer separating her entertainer image from her motherhood image. Every celebrity wants to control their own storyline, but once a child becomes part of the discussion, the audience gets 10 times more emotional and 20 times less forgiving. Supporters kept reminding people that nobody knows what happens behind closed doors, and honestly, that argument had weight. But critics kept saying that when your life keeps playing out online, the public will naturally start asking online questions. That clash made the whole situation feel impossible to calm down. Then the alliances started shifting, and that is always when celebrity drama enters its most dangerous phase. People who were once defending Chrisean started sounding unsure, while others who had criticized her before suddenly used the junior conversation as their "see, we told you" moment. Neveah and B's drama added another layer because fans began treating every reaction like proof of who was loyal, who was shady, and who was quietly enjoying the downfall. It became less about facts and more about emotional team sports, where everyone picked a side and then searched for evidence afterward. The public confusion only grew because nobody could fully tell what was real concern, what was clout chasing, and what was just regular internet exaggeration wearing a dramatic wig. 1 minute, people were talking about Chrisean's fight training like she was entering a redemption chapter, and the next minute, the timeline was arguing about specialists, parenting priorities, Neveah's tension, and B's involvement. It felt like watching a reality show where the episode title changes every 5 minutes. And because nobody clearly shut the rumors down with calm, direct answers, the speculation kept multiplying like it had a business license. The consequences were not just about this one fight, either, because Chrisean's future image could take a real hit if fans start believing the distractions are bigger than the growth. A second fight could have been her chance to show discipline, structure, and a different kind of focus, but the surrounding drama made that message harder to sell. The internet does not just watch what celebrities do. It watches timing, tone, and contrast. So when boxing hype appears beside parenting questions and side beats, people immediately start asking whether the comeback is real or just another viral costume change. Meanwhile, Neveah and B's part of the chaos kept feeling like the side plot that refused to stay in its lane. Their tension gave the internet extra oxygen. Because every messy story needs more characters, more reactions, and more confused viewers yelling, "Wait, how did we get here?" Some fans believe their drama exposed deeper cracks around Chrisean's circle, while others thought it was just another distraction feeding off a bigger headline. Either way, it pulled attention away from the ring and pushed the whole situation into that season finale territory where every character looks guilty of something, even when nobody knows what. And then came the unexpected twist. The fight may not be Chrisean's biggest battle at all. The real opponent might be the public narrative, because the internet has already built a case around responsibility, image, motherhood, and whether fame keeps turning serious moments into content. If Chrisean wins in the ring but loses the trust of the audience, the victory will feel complicated instead of clean. If she addresses Junior and the concerns directly, people may still question the timing. And if she stays silent, the silence might become louder than any punch she throws. That is why this whole aftermath feels so tense, because nobody knows whether the next chapter will be redemption, collapse, or another chaotic plot twist nobody saw coming. Chrisean could turn the story around by showing real focus where it matters most, or the drama could keep swallowing every attempt at a fresh start. Neveah and B's tension could fade, or it could explode again at the worst possible moment. And Baby Jer's situation remains the emotional center of the storm, which means the audience is not just waiting for fight night anymore. They are waiting to see who finally steps up when the cameras stop cheering. Now listen. If this whole Chrisean second fight era had your brain spinning like Zeus handed out boxing gloves at a family reunion, go ahead and smash that like button, like it owes you money, rent, and one last apology. Drop your comments below and tell me if Chrisean's fight comeback is really giving growth, or if the Junior and Neveah drama has already stolen the whole spotlight like a messy cousin at somebody else's baby shower. Because at this point, the ring is not even the scariest place in the story. The real danger is the comment section, and y'all know that place fights dirtier than anybody with gloves on. And do not just watch in silence like you are hiding behind the curtains at a reality TV reunion. Because we need the opinions, the side eyes, the theories, and the full internet courtroom verdict. Subscribe to Fame Flaws if you want the drama broken down with sarcasm, receipts, chaos, and enough messy commentary to make the timeline nervous. Turn on those notifications before the next twist runs past you wearing a hoodie and pretending. It was not involved, because when Fame gets ugly, the flaws get louder. And this story is definitely not finished on Fame Flaws.